I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up.
Oh yeah. Welcome back to the Two-Tone Talk. Oh Lord. The Two-Tone Talk by God Pod, episode 147. Good to see everybody today. It is 2 days away from Super Bowl Sunday. Chiefs and the Eagles. Hooray! Let me ask you this. Who would you rather see get a ring? A.J. Brown or DeAndre Hopkins? For me, the answer is obvious. I would rather see DeAndre Hopkins. And listen, I get being annoyed with the Chiefs. I get all of that. I would rather see DeAndre Hopkins get a ring than A.J. Brown. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Because D-Hop, first of all, A.J. Brown's going to have probably many more opportunities to compete for a Super Bowl. This is probably it for Hopkins. And also, I don't know, man. I know the trade with AJ. I know we're mad at John Robinson. We're mad at the Titans for that. But also, AJ was chirping his mouth, in the aftermath of that. He has some things to say about Titans fans that I'm still not completely at peace with. So I would rather see DeAndre Hopkins get the ring than AJ Brown on Sunday. I'm just going to be honest with you. Be honest with you, man. Yeah, got to go D Hop. Even though I'm not rooting for either one of these teams. But the Super Bowl is Sunday, and it is February the 7th, 2025. As I said the other day, we are another month closer to the return of Tennessee Titans football. And today, we're doing a fun little activity, okay? I've put together a presentation. The pros and the cons of every Tennessee Titans quarterback possibility in 2025. Free agent, trade, draft. These are all of the guys that I see as realistic possibilities for the Titans at quarterback in 2025. And I have compiled a list for each of them, the pros and the cons of every single one of these guys. And so let me hear from you in the comments if you're watching live. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you think this is fair. If you disagree on any of these, we'll talk about it. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chat here so that I can keep up with what everybody is saying. It's the pros and the cons, okay? And we're starting off the list with a free agent. We're starting off the list with Sam Darnold, okay? Sam Darnold, a realistic possibility for the Tennessee Titans in 2025 if they don't draft a quarterback. Let me just go ahead and put that out there first. Sam Darnold is only a possibility if you blatantly do not draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. If you have to go the free agency route, Sam Darnold is a realistic possibility. The pros of Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold is a fine quarterback, okay? I think Sam Darnold, he's been in the league a little while now. Obviously, he has grown into what I consider to be a perfectly fine quarterback in the NFL. He's experienced. He's been on numerous teams. He came in with the Jets, went to the Panthers, had a stint with the 49ers, and then obviously with the Vikings. I think Sam Darnold could stabilize the offense. I think Sam Darnold is a huge upgrade from Will Levis. Okay? He is a major upgrade from Levis and Mason Rudolph. He's a major upgrade, and I think Sam Darnold could stabilize the offense and make the offense runnable, which is more than I could say about any quarterbacks we had last year. I would also say as a pro, Sam Darnold is an accurate passer. We saw that this year. Sam Darnold, he can sling it. The cons of Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold is going to be more on the expensive side of things. I think Sam Darnold is he's the top free agent quarterback this offseason. Lest we forget, even though things ended the way they did in Minnesota, Sam Darnold still had a pretty darn good season overall with the Vikings. It went south at the end, but overall, Sam Darnold had a really good season with the Vikings. So he's still going to be a little more costly. And for the Titans, I just don't know if the Titans have some money to spend, but I just don't like the idea of paying a whole bunch of money for Sam Darnold. So that's a major con for me, is that Sam Darnold's going to be a little more expensive. I think he's got a low ceiling with the Titans. I don't think the Titans are winning a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. I'm not even confident the Titans would even be a playoff team with Sam Darnold, much less win a playoff game with Sam Darnold. So I think the ceiling is low. I put on in the cons list that the Titans are not the Vikings. The Titans, Sam Darnold was in a very good situation, and I'm going to give the guy credit. He made some very good throws. He did some very good things on his own, but he was in a very good situation. And it is a situation that is much better than the Tennessee Titans would be for Sam Darnold. I think you might see a little more of the Jets version of Darnold than you would the Vikings version of Darnold if he came to Tennessee. I think he might start seeing ghosts again if he were here. And the last con is that Sam Darnold struggled under pressure. We saw that in the playoff game against the Rams. Struggled under pressure, and the Titans' offensive line obviously still figuring it out, to say the least. So I worry about that too. So those are the pros and cons of Sam Darnold. Let's continue on the list with another free agent. Well, potential free agent. I don't know what the situation is with this guy, Kirk Cousins. Maybe he's going to be a free agent, or the Falcons going to try to trade him. I don't think that's something that's going to happen, but here we go. The pros of Kirk Cousins: he would be cheap. He would, in theory, he's still going to be getting paid by the Falcons no matter what happens, because they paid him $180 million and then drafted his replacement right after. So that's a pro, is that Kirk Cousins would absolutely be affordable. He would be cheap. Similar to what the Steelers had with Russell Wilson this past season. Another pro is that, contrary to this year, his to heal now. I think you still saw in Atlanta this year, he was still struggling, recovering from that major injury. One pro could be that injury has had more time to heal now, and so that maybe he'd be a little more used to it. And another pro, we saw Kirk Cousins can still make big-time throws. There was a period of time with Atlanta this season where it looked like things were going to work out with Cousins because he was playing pretty well for them. Had some clutch drives. I remember a Thursday nighter against Tampa Bay where he threw for like 500 yards and 5 touchdowns against a Tampa Bay defense that's normally pretty good. He had the game-winning drive against Philadelphia early in the season. So Kirk Cousins can still make some big-time throws. Sometimes. The cons of Kirk Cousins is that he's old. He's old. He's been doing it a while. He's slow, and he's immobile. He's old, he's slow, and he's immobile. And that worries me because, like I said, the Tennessee Titans offensive line still figuring it out, very much so. And you've got a guy, we kind of saw it with Ryan Tannehill his last year here. Tannehill was just not very mobile, and when the pressure got to him, there was nowhere he could go. I think it would be times 10 with Kirk Cousins because he cannot, he's going to have to be a guy who just drops back and passes it because he's not going to be able to extend plays with his legs. So that worries me. Let's go to the next option here. And it is none other than Derek Carr. Now, theoretically, this would have to be a trade, I guess, because he's still scheduled to be back with the Saints. He very well may be. The pros of Derek Carr: he has experience with Brian Callahan, has experience with that style of offense. Kind of like Sam Darnold, but a little less so. I think Derek Carr could stabilize the offense. I still think Derek Carr would be a massive upgrade. Not a massive upgrade, but an upgrade from Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. So Derek Carr would be an upgrade, even if it's not a drastic upgrade. He could stabilize the offense and make it look decent, probably. And Derek Carr is probably going to be affordable. I don't think there's, I think he would be cheaper than Darnold. The cons of Derek Carr is that it would be incredibly boring. Literally, this is the most boring option. I would even be more intrigued by Kirk Cousins than Derek Carr. Derek Carr, you're talking about a fan base in Tennessee that is already struggling to stay awake here. You're going to go out and sign Derek Carr? Oh my gosh. I just feel like I'm falling asleep just talking about it. Another con is that Derek Carr has dealt with injuries. He's been very hurt a lot, missed a lot of time this past season, so you have that. And again, much like Sam Darnold, I think another con of Derek Carr is that there's just an incredibly low ceiling with him of what the Titans could realistically do. I think with Derek Carr, similar to Darnold, but a little worse than Darnold. I said earlier when we talked about Darnold, I don't think Sam Darnold could win the Titans a Super Bowl or get them to the playoffs or win them a playoff game. And if I don't think Darnold can do that, I sure don't think Derek Carr could do it. So if you get Derek Carr, you are pretty much signifying that we do not intend on being very competitive this year, which some people say that's not a bad thing. Let's move on to the next option here, which is Justin Fields. Getting all the free agents out of the way. Justin Fields, the pros of Justin Fields. He's young, as opposed to a guy like Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr. I mean, Justin Fields is young. He's mobile. That's another pro. He, unlike Cousins or Rodgers or Carr, Justin Fields can move around. He can extend plays with his legs. Another pro of Justin Fields, he's athletic. Unlike Kirk Cousins, unlike Aaron Rodgers, unlike Derek Carr, Justin Fields is very athletic. He can move around. Okay. Got that big frame. And I think, with Justin Fields, you could at least try to make yourself believe, because he's still young, could this guy come in and revitalize his career and find a home in Tennessee? Like, if you don't draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, you bring in Justin Fields, you could at least hold out hope. Because if you don't draft, if you don't draft Shedeur Cam Ward and you bring in Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers or Derek Carr, then this is a rental. This is a 1-year rental, and we're going to just, we're going to let this guy have it for a year. With Justin Fields, because he's young, you could at least try to make yourself believe maybe he could come in here and turn it on and show that potential that he had coming out of the draft when he went to Chicago, and it was terrible there. And then he went to Pittsburgh and wasn't bad for Pittsburgh, but they went away from him. Could he come to Tennessee and revitalize his career? Here's the cons. Justin Fields does not fit in with Brian Callahan's offense. Justin Fields is similar to Will Levis to me, and that's another con coming up here in a second. I don't know if I trust Justin Fields to just be able to drop back and make a quick read and throw it. I think Justin Fields has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long. I think Justin Fields has a tendency to try to play hero ball. And I think another con here, that Justin Fields has a tendency to be inaccurate with his passes. I think he's less accurate sometimes even than Will is. And the last con for Justin Fields is that he is Levis-esque, is what I said. He is Levis-esque in that, I mentioned it earlier, tries to do too much, holds on to the ball too long, not very accurate. In Chicago, he was turnover prone. I see some similar Will Levis attributes with Justin Fields. I just still don't think he would be a good fit. Those are the pros and cons of Justin Fields. Let's move on now to Old Man Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, a realistic possibility for the Titans. I think even if they were to draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, a guy like Aaron Rodgers could be a realistic possibility if they want Cam or Shedeur, should they draft them, to have a year to sit on the bench. The pros of Aaron Rodgers, and I was hesitant at even putting this on the list, but I put culture. Aaron Rodgers, the Titans don't have a lot of leaders. Okay? Titans don't have a lot of leaders on the team right now. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has at least been around the block. He's been there, done that, won multiple MVPs, won a Super Bowl. Maybe Aaron Rodgers could bring some personality and some culture to this team that has none. Even if it's a personality and a culture that you don't care for, which probably would apply to some, maybe he could at least bring some personality to this team. I think Aaron Rodgers can still make some big throws. I think Aaron Rodgers was not bad for the Jets this year. I think the Jets were bad, and Rodgers certainly had his moments where he was pretty pathetic. But he's still, I mean, I don't think he quite threw for 4,000 yards this season, but he got pretty close. Aaron Rodgers would fit in well with Brian Callahan's system because it's quick, it's drop back, get the ball out. And Aaron Rodgers, that's kind of what he is specialized in his entire career, is just getting rid of the ball. Getting rid of the ball quickly. And with the Titans' offensive line, that's what you're going to have to do, is drop back and get rid of it. So I could see him fitting in well with Callahan's system. And as I said, as a pro, he's got a good quick game. He can drop back and get rid of it. I don't think Aaron Rodgers still has that deep ball that he had in Green Bay. I don't think that's the same as it used to be, but he could still get the ball out of his hands quickly. And like I said, another pro kind of, he brings some kind of personality to the team. If you bring in Aaron Rodgers, at least you're going to have Aaron Rodgers going on the Pat McAfee show, and it's going to get some publicity for Tennessee. Even if it's not very good publicity, it's better than nothing. The cons of Aaron Rodgers is that he's old. The con of Aaron Rodgers is that he could very well be a distraction. And I realize I'm kind of contradicting myself. I realize I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. Do you want him to bring his personality or not? The con of Aaron Rodgers' personality is that it can become a distraction. I think you can look at Aaron Rodgers in New York. Garrett Wilson doesn't even want to play with him anymore. It just doesn't feel like the Jets are really, the players or coaches are really crazy about Aaron Rodgers. So he's he's a weird cat, and so I think he could be a distraction. I saw on NFL Live, they tried to say that Aaron Rodgers would be a good fit in Tennessee because he would bring the locker room together. I worry about the opposite. I think Aaron Rodgers could tear the locker room apart. But what locker room do we even have right now? Like, what is there to tear apart? There's no culture at all in Tennessee. The cons, like I said, arm strength. I don't think Aaron Rodgers still has that deep ball that he had in Green Bay. And he's immobile. Not as much as Kirk Cousins, but he can't really move around much anymore. Okay, so some interesting pros and cons to debate with Aaron Rodgers. Let's keep going down the list of potential quarterbacks. Russell Wilson. I was all about Russell Wilson at one point this year. I thought he was playing well for Pittsburgh, but it really went south at the end. The pros of Russell Wilson, he's been there, done that. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been around. He's played a lot of football for a lot of teams. He took a bad team to the playoffs. I mean, the Steelers were a playoff team this year. Russell Wilson, for better or for worse, got them to the playoffs. I put like another pro, maybe he's a leader. I don't know, maybe. Could be. You would like to think, after all these years of being around, maybe he's a good leader. Still has flashes of Seattle Russ. I mean, I thought that there were times where he would make throws this season and be like, hey, I remember that guy from Seattle. The last pro I said, and this is not really anything that applies to football, but I think Russell Wilson's hilarious. I think he's hilarious. I think he's unintentionally hilarious. All of the things he does that people think are so cringe and Mr. Unlimited and Broncos Country Let's Ride, I think it's all hilarious. And the reason why is because he's like a character from The Office. He is so unintentionally, he's not trying to be funny, but he is genuinely hilarious to me because he is such a dork. The cons of Russell Wilson. Do you see a trend here? He's old. The con of Russell Wilson, going off of that personality, he is a little goofy. I think Russell Wilson, in a very different way, could be a problem for a locker room. I mean, it's well documented in Seattle. He kind of didn't get along with a lot of guys there. Another con, his decision-making late in the season. I mean, you could watch Pittsburgh late in the season and just be like, what the heck's this guy doing? Against Baltimore in the playoffs, he was really, really bad. Weaker arm, like I said, similar to Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson doesn't have that deep ball that he used to have. And then I put decision-making twice. Apparently, Russell Wilson's decision-making is such a con that I put it on the list twice. That was a mistake. Okay, so Russell Wilson, I could see Russell Wilson being a good option if you do draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders and you want them to set a year. Russell Wilson could be a good mentor, maybe. Maybe he's not the mentor type. Will Levis. Okay, I had to put Will on the list because technically he is still an option, even though I do not think that they're going to do this. Especially considering the report that came out yesterday that there was one of the guys the Titans interviewed to be their GM, admitted his plan was to go with Will Levis in 2025, and he didn't get a second interview. It was Dimitroff from Atlanta his plan was to go with Levis in 2025. He didn't get a second interview. So that tells me the Titans probably don't want to go with Will Levis. But here we go. The pros of Will Levis. He's got fire. He wants to be good. God bless him. He wants to be good. And so he's got the fire. He can make some wow throws. We saw that at times this year in the Washington game, Houston game. There were some throws he's capable of making. It's like, dang, man, what a throw. But he just doesn't do it consistently. Another pro of Will Levis is at least there would be some continuity. He knows the offense now after a year of doing it. Another pro of Will Levis is that he's tough. He can, but sometimes that's to his detriment because he gets hurt. Cons of Will Levis, you already know. He's a turnover machine, misses open guys, doesn't see the field. Brian Callahan confirmed that in the interview he did with A to Z Sports. It's he was struggling to even figure out how to run an offense with Will Levis because he doesn't see the field well. I mean, you have to take my word for it. Take the coach's word for it. Will Levis doesn't see the field. Misses, like I said, think about the Jacksonville game. He had one of the tight ends, Okonkwo, wide open in the end zone for the easiest touchdown of the year, and he threw an incomplete pass instead, because he threw it to a guy that was well covered. So, I mean, we've seen the cons of Will Levis on full display. I personally don't need to see any more. All right. Let's keep this train rolling. Okay. This is a long shot, I know. But Matthew Stafford. Rams trying to trade him. If we didn't draft a quarterback, I'm a big fan of Stafford. The pros of Matt Stafford, he's a baller. Matt Stafford, I still think you can make the argument it's top 5 quarterback in the league. Great leader, another pro. Another pro, unlike those other older guys that I mentioned, Matt Stafford's playing at a high level. Matt Stafford almost got his team to the NFC Championship in the snow. He's 37 years old, I understand, but like Matt Stafford, you can look at his body of work over this season. I know people think he's just old, whatever, but this guy's still playing at a very high level. And he's got experience with Brian Callahan. They've worked together before. So there are some pros about Matthew Stafford, among others. The cons of Matthew Stafford, yes, he is 37 years old. He's older. He would be an older quarterback. You'd have to trade for him, so I don't know what you would have to give up to get Matthew Stafford. That's a con. Another con is that the Titans are not the Rams. Titans are currently not as good of a situation for Matthew Stafford as the Rams. Matt Stafford being older, I would worry about him with our offensive line. Brian Callahan is not Sean McVay. We don't have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and some of those weapons they have there. Not as good of a situation for him. And for that, the last con on this list is that I'm just not sure it would make much sense for Matthew Stafford, because if he were to get traded somewhere, you are essentially getting traded somewhere that you are going to end your career. I'm not sure, like, if you're Matt Stafford, and this sounds harsh, but if you're Matt Stafford and you're going to come to Tennessee, you may as well just retire. I mean, because I hate to say that. If he wants to come here, great, but if you're Matt Stafford, why would you even bother taking another year or two to come to Tennessee? Like, with the shape the Titans are in right now. But I think Matt Stafford's, I still think he's a great quarterback. Now we get to some of the draft guys. A few of these guys. Jackson Dart. Everybody's talking about Jackson Dart from Ole Miss as a potential early second round pick for the Titans. I'm not crazy about it at all. I'm not really interested in this at all. But the pros, he's got good arm strength. He can chunk it. He's mobile. He can extend plays with his legs. He can throw on the run. We saw that in Ole Miss, but I just see Will Levis when I look at this guy. I just see Will Levis. The cons of Jackson Dart, I think Jackson Dart's gonna have a hard time adapting to the NFL. I just knowing the style of offense that Ole Miss runs, I think Jackson Dart's gonna have a hard time adjusting to an NFL offense. Jackson Dart, another con, he feels like a reach. Just feels like another reach. Another guy that we're just going to bring in and throw another, no pun intended, dart at the wall and try to find another guy that I don't see it. And I don't think, another con for Jackson Dart, I don't think he's a good pocket passer. I misspelled it on the slide there, but you know what I mean. He's not a good pocket passer. I just don't trust Jackson Dart to just drop back and throw the ball. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think it's a forced narrative that was very predictable because you could see it coming from a mile away. I don't like the Titans getting Jackson Dart. And then we get to the two obvious ones, Shedeur Sanders. Pros. Shedor's tough. Very tough. Accurate passer when he has time to throw. I put on here as a pro prime time. I like, some people don't like it. I like the allure of him being Deion Sanders' son. I like it. Because the Titans are irrelevant right now. That we have nothing. We have no culture. We have no personality at all. I like the idea of having somebody with that much swagger, somebody with that much, aura coming in here, having the Sanders name attached to our organization. I'm in favor of it. Some people don't like that. I say bring it on. Bring the gold chains. Bring the $1,000 suits, whatever it is you want to wear prime time. Bring it on. He can throw under pressure. We've seen that. Shedeur did not have a good offensive line at Colorado, and he still made throws under pressure. He's probably going to be under pressure if he comes to Tennessee. And like I said, I it's kind of repeating myself, but he's got swagger. He's got that Deion Sanders swagger. And I'm just now reading the chat. Evan said our best player is a defensive tackle. We need someone worth talking about. Yeah. I mean, we're worried about Shedeur coming in here and, he's just got that big personality. Good. We don't have anybody with a big personality. Luke says, and before I get to the last, I got to read the cons for Shedeur, but Luke says, I don't care what anybody says, and you can hate on it if you want. If it's not Ward or Sanders, I would take Jalen Milroe. He can run. He's got a strong arm. He just needs to improve his accuracy if we can get him in the second. Luke, I respect your opinion. You're in the chat all the time, and I appreciate you watching. I don't want anything to do with Jalen Milroe. I don't want anything to do with Jalen Milroe. My dad said that he thinks, I guess Jackson Dart would have a hard time even making the team. The cons of Shedeur Sanders. I put bad pocket presence, but what I really mean by bad pocket presence is the next con that I have on the list. He holds on to the ball too long. And that's something that he could get better at, but it worries me because that's one of the big things wrong with Will Levis. Is if Shedeur, you've seen the plays where he holds on to the ball, runs around, and then runs back, and then, takes sacks that are loss of 30 yards. I mean, there's sometimes that he took Colorado out of field goal range because he took such a bad sack. So when I say, and Anthony said he disagrees about pocket presence, what I mainly mean by pocket presence is just holding on to the ball too long is what I should have said. And I did say that, but that's what I meant by bad pocket presence. Shedeur just has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long. I put as a con, he's not a number one prospect to a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are really of the belief that Shedeur Sanders would not be as highly touted if he wasn't a Sanders. If his dad was not prime, he would not be getting talked about like this, according to a lot of people. And that concerns me when I hear experts saying, but here's the thing though. Here's the argument against that. Do people not want Shedeur to get drafted early, or do they just not want him to go to the Titans? Because I'm telling you, there's an agenda. These people want Shedeur, Deion Sanders' son, and they want him to go to the Giants so bad. The Giants have the third pick. They want him to go to the Giants so bad. They are all but telling you, please trade that pick to the Giants. Please let him fall to 3. We don't want him to go to Tennessee. We don't want him to go to Cleveland. That's not any fun. We want him to go to the Giants. Or we want him to go to the Raiders. We want him to go to New York or Vegas. So I think some of these people who say the Titans shouldn't take him, What they're really saying is we don't want him to take him because we want him to go somewhere more fun than Tennessee. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but that's my belief on that. But some people that I trust in sports media are legitimately saying this guy's not a number one prospect. I mean, that's a big risk, and I will listen to that. Also, I put his instincts. I think, again, it goes back to just holding on to the ball too long. I think sometimes Shedeur tries to do too much, tries to hold on to the ball too much. Probably doesn't use his mobility enough. And so those are the cons for him. And last but not least, most people's favorite option is Cam Ward. Pros for Cam Ward, and these are some major pros. Elite arm talent. I mean, you can watch the guy's film. He can make some unbelievable throws. The things that, you can see in the bowl game, the one throw he made, just back foot right over defender's head into the guy. I mean, he has elite arm talent. Off-schedule playmaker. And you got to, this is something that's important in today's NFL. You see it with Mahomes. You see it with Allen. You see it with Burrow. You see it with Lamar. You got to be able to make something out of nothing. There are going to be times when the play breaks down. There are going to be times when the protection breaks down. There are going to be times when guys don't get initially open. There are going to be times where it doesn't totally work out. Cam Ward is honestly better at that than he is just dropping back and seeing his read and throwing it, So he's an off-schedule playmaker. I like that about him. He can make crazy throws. Again, you see that with a lot of NFL quarterbacks now. They make these throws that make you go, good Lord, how did he even see that? And he's an amazing athlete. Cam Ward, I think he's an amazing specimen. The cons, Levis-esque. There are certain things Cam Ward did in college where I was like, that looked like the Will Levis special. Getting sacked and trying to underhand it out to a guy. We can't have nobody doing that. We can't have another quarterback trying to do that crap. Tries to play hero ball sometimes, tries to do too much. And going back to that Levis-esque thing, that was Will's downfall. He tried to do too much. I put that pretty much 3 times. Levis-esque, hero ball, tries to do too much. Kind of all means the same thing. And then the last con for Cam Ward, can he just drop back and throw? We know he can do the off-schedule things. We know he can make something out of nothing. But can he just realistically take the snap, drop back, go through his reads, throw to the open guy? We'll see. These are the pros and cons of all of the options for Tennessee going into 2025 at quarterback. Who do you want? Let me know in the comments. Let's make a pick for the Super Bowl. There's a part of me that says the Eagles are going to win. I do think they have a better roster. I think the Eagles have more talent, but it's inevitable. It's inevitable. You know what's going to happen. The Chiefs are going to win. I got the Chiefs. I would like to see DeAndre Hopkins get his ring. I'm going with the Chiefs because it feels inevitable. Eagles have the better roster, but we've seen it enough to know it doesn't matter. I got the Chiefs. Have a good Super Bowl Sunday. Enjoy the commercials at least. Enjoy Kendrick Lamar at halftime. And that's going to do it for me. I'll be back Monday to recap the Super Bowl. God bless you, everybody. Tighten up. This is a Two-Tone Talk by God pod. Staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Bye, everybody.